one of the reasons why I joined even ePilot, I just saw how much ePilot is putting out there. Maybe not completely in terms of code, but even in terms of knowledge, like in general. It just shows the company really believes in what they are doing. They are not afraid to show what they are doing. And yeah, you then know, okay, these guys, they're probably pretty good, right?
Hello everyone, my name is Juan and I'm here today with Jakub. We're going to talk about product and open source. I work at Sigma, the coolest team at the company.
Yeah.
Faster than you.
Yeah.
And you, Jakub?
Yeah. I work at Mosaic. That's the coolest team here. No. I work on messaging and ECP, the end customer portal. But what we share with Juan is love for open source and product engineering mindset. So what would you say is the first step when you think like a product engineer? What's the first step?
So the hardest part, I would say, and it's like 90% of the fight against product, is to identify the problem. And we think we know what we're going to do or the solution that we want to put together, but we don't know if that's a real problem. So figuring that out is really important, or key, basically, because we could be building something that is not helping our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would you go about that? What would be what's your go-to? Is there any silver bullet for that?
Well, I don't think I know the answer. We believe that talking to our customers is key. So if we stay in touch with them on a daily basis, we put software together, we put them in front of them and ask them questions of, is this solving your problem or helping you work better? And if the answer is meh, then we need to iterate. But yeah, of course, every team is different. I believe that Sigma has different problems and Mosaic probably has other challenges as well. So how do you guys find problems?
Just as you said, just talking to customers really helps. And I would maybe quickly mention that open source is a very good way to accelerate this cycle, right? Because with commercial software, you don't necessarily have to have access to your customers. Maybe not everybody out there has access to the customers, to the users, right? But with open source, you really shorten the cycle, the feedback cycle. You put something out and you immediately get some feedback. Especially if you've done something wrong, you will get some negative feedback, right? And it's really great. It's really great. I think it's like a cheat code. Open source is like a cheat code that you can use to quickly get feedback from the outside world.
All right. I believe you have some examples of open source that you've put together.
Yeah. I've recently realized that while we do have strong cryptography in our pockets because we have eID cards that contain strong cryptography, we don't have a simple way to use it.
Okay.
And I just wanted to sign some random documents, and some people around me wanted to sign some documents, but our government wouldn't provide us with a tool to do that. So that was the problem. I quickly came up with a simple tool, simple utility tool, and I put it out there. Some people liked it, some people maybe not so much, but what they mentioned is that they can imagine it in a slightly different way. They can imagine it for something slightly different use case.
Okay.
And with commercial software, if you would receive a feedback like that, you would be like, nah, that's not the problem we are trying to solve, right?
Yeah.
But amazing thing about open source is that they can just go ahead and do it themselves, right? Of course, you can help them, but they can just do it themselves. So not only the feedback is much shorter, also this ability for others to iterate on your idea is incredibly useful.
So you started with the problem that you identify for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I want to sign documents with my ID card provided by the government. There's no solution for that. I'm going to just put it together and open source it.
Yeah.
what made you want to open source that solution to your problem in the first place?
Yeah. I don't think I really wanted. I really didn't want to make it a paid product.
Okay.
That was first thing. I'm not saying you cannot monetize open source. You can. You absolutely can. But I think I just wanted to help others. I know I was not unique with my problem. I know others are probably facing the same problem, and so I just put it out there. Plus, I based it on a huge number of libraries, open source libraries as well, right? So we're just giving back to the community.
You were leveraging.
Of course, yeah. Oh,
right.
Absolutely. I was standing on the shoulders of giants. Absolutely, yes, yeah.
All right. And how does that translate to the product mindset?
Of course, as you said, you have to identify the problem, right? So it has to be a real problem. It's not just I want to play around with this technology, so I do that, or maybe I think somebody could have this problem. No, you need to identify a real problem. So I would say that's the first one.
In this case, it was your personal problem, so
Yeah.
you had one user.
Yeah, in the beginning, of course, yeah. But yeah, I was even before that. I mean, even if before I started, I still wanted to talk to some users around me or potential users around me, right? And just ask them, is there any? How are you currently doing this? Is there any tool for this? Because I don't want to create something that already exists. I don't want to just create something that maybe someone else already created and it's actually good, right? People actually want to use it. If there is something that people use but it's not perfect and I can do better, that's fine. But yeah.
All right.
So that was the first part. But then also taking feedback and incorporating feedback into the product, into the software. I think that's an important part as well.
And I'm curious to know, so you found the problem, you had it yourself, and when you put it out there as open source, did the problem stay the same? Or the feedback loop kind of change how you saw your own problem and noticed that maybe this is not the way, or maybe the problem is a different one from the one that I have?
Yeah. So that's the most interesting part, I would say.
Okay.
Because I just saw it as a simple tool for a simple purpose. I just want to sign some PDFs, right? Nothing else. I just need this to sign some contracts. And I
So
really,
digitally, you wanted to sign a contract.
yeah. I wanted to, maybe more specifically, I wanted to sign it using qualified electronic signatures. I wasn't really thinking about other use cases, which is not necessarily a bad thing because you stay focused, right, on the problem. But then once I shared it with the community, because if it's just me using the tool, sure, it does have some value, of course, but we want others to get some value out of it as well, right? So I shared it with some relevant communities, and this nonprofit that deals with government software was very interested in it, but they said, yeah, this is cool, we could use it, but it needs to integrate with other systems. It needs to integrate with websites. Then it has a ton of value. Then we can see it can do this, this, and that. And it was super amazing to see how it basically enabled them to do that. Before that, they were talking about maybe doing something like this, but since they didn't have a clear example of something like that, they didn't really know whether we can do this or how hard it is, they just wouldn't do it. But after they saw my example, they decided, yeah, we can do this. They took my tool. We kind of rewrote it. I helped them rewrite it. And yeah, it was then integrated into some systems. It's used by some companies, government organizations. And yeah, only then I think it actually took off because my original tool, I mean, it helps some users, but not many.
Okay, so you never imagined it would be so big, right?
No, absolutely not.
It was like a problem meant to be found by someone else.
Yeah.
You didn't picture that as a useful tool for the government, that now you can enable the government to sign documents from their people's homes. So you can actually just be at home. I want to send my tax submission. Do it online.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a use case though.
Well, yeah. So the thing is, we do have some software from the government, but the problem is there are some usability concerns. People are not able to use it in some cases, and also there are problems with compatibility on other platforms. So Windows is covered well, of course, right? But macOS, Linux, not so much. So yeah, what we did there was we just made it easier to use. We aligned it UI and UX wise with the rest of the service you are using, and we made it compatible with all operating systems. Nothing crazy, I would say. Nothing crazy, but still, this was something that users were waiting for. So it really provided some value. And then, since this was made to be compatible with other services, or it was made to be configurable, we had some people from the community writing basically plugin for the browser that allowed you to use this tool instead of the tool that government provided. Yeah. And people are using it.
Right.
Even for services that did not actually have, I think, support for other platforms at all, because there was some problems somewhere. I'm not super deep on this. They enabled use from other platforms. So yeah, pretty cool. But also for companies, since it's pretty generic, I would say, it has like a generic API, which incidentally matches the way we do things here, right? We go with the API and we try to make it slightly generic, so it's usable for different purposes. So since it's pretty generic and configurable, people just integrated it with their system, with their websites, and they use it to sign commercial documents as well.
All right. So how can you keep building on top of this product? Like, how can you make it worth living? Like,
yeah. So the thing that I find very interesting is that once you have something that is really useful, people are even willing to fund your project. And this is what happened here as well. So this nonprofit received funding. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was public money. It was actually funding from the government.
So it's the organization that's adopting your software.
Yeah, exactly.
Received government funds.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, it made me so happy. It made me so happy because when you see money flowing into open source, like it has to make you happy, especially if it's government money, because then public money gets a completely different meaning. Yeah. No, but it's a completely different meaning because it's not just public in a sense of your country, but open source means anyone from the outside, the whole world can get value out of it. So this made me very happy, and I think you can attract some attention this way. Of course, since there were some companies using it, I'm pretty sure you would be able to do some consulting. I was asked if I want to help them for money. I didn't have enough time for that, and I don't want to usually accept money for open source work. But I think consulting would be a very, very good next step for that as well.
So basically putting a company of consulting that's going to build on top of that software.
Yes, yeah. Right. Help others integrate the software, yeah. Right. Taking feedback from them, implementing it in the project, yep.
Developing, okay. And this all ties together in my head, as in open source is just another product. So it sounds like a synonym to product, basically, where you can identify a problem, even if it's your own, and then put it out there. And it's a much faster way to find product market fit. That's what they call it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You have a problem, you put software out there, and people are going to use it or not, depending if it's useful to them.
Yeah.
So it's a much faster feedback loop.
Oh, yeah.
What's missing in that loop? How can we make open source adoption faster, like growing? Because companies are like protecting their own knowledge into silos. In the case of OpenAI, for example, They want to protect their know-how. Why? What would be the benefit of making it open sourced, apart from the feedback loop?
Yeah. Attracting talent, quite honestly. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why I joined even ePilot, because I've joined only 2 months ago, so this is still very, very fresh
early
for me.
days.
Yeah. I just saw how much ePilot is putting out there, right? Maybe not completely in terms of code, but even in terms of knowledge, like in general. And yeah, it just shows the company really believes in what they are doing. They're not afraid to show what they are doing. And yeah, you then know, okay, these guys, they're probably pretty good, right? So yeah, I think attracting talent, definitely one huge advantage.
Thank you, Jakub, for sharing your experience. It was very interesting. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.